There is no escapes.
We have such sights to show you.
I should never have gone back to Redwater Valley, but when my grandmother died, I had no choice. I was the only family she had left, and tradition demanded I perform the last rites. So I took a week off from my consulting job in Seattle, boarded a plane to Montana, and drove 6 hours into the mountains where I was born. I had not been back in 15 years, not since I left for college, not since I swore I would never return. But as I drove through the winding mountain roads, I started to notice things that made my stomach turn. The trees were wrong, not dead exactly, but sick. The leaves were a strange grayish color, and the bark was peeling in long strips, exposing wood that looked almost metallic. I thought maybe it was some kind of fungus or pollution from the nearby highway. But the further I drove, the worse it got. Then I saw the mine. It had not been there when I left. I would have remembered. It was massive. An open pit gouged into the side of the mountain like a wound. I could see the terrace levels descending into darkness, and at the bottom something glinted. It was too far away to make out clearly, but it looked almost like liquid metal, pooling at the base. A sign at the entrance read, Red Soil Mining Company, authorized personnel only. I did not stop. I kept driving toward the village, toward the small cluster of homes where my grandmother had lived her entire life, where my mother was born, where I spent the first 18 years of my life before I escaped. The village was called White Feather, named after the sacred bird that used to nest in the valley. My grandmother told me stories when I was young about how the valley was protected, how our ancestors made a pact with the mountain. Never dig too deep, never take more than you need, never disturb the sleeping stone. I thought they were just stories, myths to explain the strange rock formations, the way sound echoed differently in certain parts of the forest, the occasional tremors that shook the ground. But as I pulled into the village, I realized something was very, very wrong. The village was empty, not abandoned exactly. There were cars parked outside homes, laundry hanging on lines, smoke rising from chimneys, but no people, no children playing, no elders sitting on porches, no dogs barking, just silence. I parked outside my grandmother's house, a small wooden structure at the edge of the village. And as I got out of the car, I heard it, a sound, low and constant, like humming. But not quite. It was coming from everywhere and nowhere at once, and it made my teeth ache. I knocked on the door, no answer. I tried the handle, it was unlocked. I stepped inside. The house smelled like sage and tobacco, the way it always had. But underneath that, there was something else. Something metallic and bitter, like rust or blood. I called out. No one answered. My grandmother's body was in the bedroom. She had been prepared for burial, dressed in traditional clothing, her hands folded over her chest. But something was wrong with her skin. It had a grayish tint, and when I touched her hand, it felt hard, almost like stone. That is when I heard footsteps behind me. I turned, and there was a man standing in the doorway. He was young, maybe 30, wearing a flannel shirt and jeans, but his eyes were wrong. They were completely black. Not just the pupils, the entire eye, from corner to corner, like someone had filled them with ink. "You are Sarah," he said. His voice was flat, emotionless. "You came back." I nodded, my throat too tight to speak. "You should not have," he said. And then he smiled. It was the worst smile I have ever seen. Too wide, too many teeth. The mountain is awake now, and it is hungry. He turned and walked away, and I heard his footsteps fade down the hallway. I did not follow him. I stood there, frozen, staring at the empty doorway, trying to process what I had just seen. Then I heard the humming again, louder this time, and I realized it was not coming from outside. It was coming from below, from underneath the house, from deep in the ground. I left. I did not perform the rites. I did not say goodbye. I just ran to my car and drove. But as I passed through the village, I saw them, the people, all of them, standing in their yards, in their doorways, on their porches, all staring at me with those same black eyes. And all of them were smiling. I drove back to the main road, but I did not head for the airport. I do not know why. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe something was already pulling me back. But I stopped at a gas station about 20 miles from the village and asked the attendant about the mine. Red soil, he said. Yeah, they opened it about 10 years ago. Big operation, lots of jobs. Supposed to be good for the economy. What are they mining? I asked. He shrugged. Some kind of rare earth mineral. I do not know the details, but they pay well. That is all I know. Have you noticed anything strange? I asked about the people who worked there. He looked at me for a long moment, and I saw something flicker in his eyes. Fear, maybe, or recognition. You are from Whitefeather, he said. It was not a question. I nodded. Then you know, he said quietly, you know what they dug up. Before I could ask what he meant, he turned and walked into the back room, leaving me standing alone at the counter. I waited for a few minutes, but he did not come back. So I left. I drove to the nearest town, a place called Millbrook, about 40 miles from the valley. I checked into a motel and spent the next few hours researching Red Soil Mining Company online. What I found made my blood run cold. The company was owned by a conglomerate based overseas, and they'd been operating in Redwater Valley for exactly 10 years. But there was almost no information about what they were extracting. The few articles I found mentioned rare earth elements, critical for technology and renewable energy, but nothing specific. What was more disturbing were the reports, starting about 5 years ago. There had been a spike in missing persons cases in the surrounding counties. Hikers, campers, locals, all vanished without a trace. The authorities blamed it on the rugged terrain, wildlife, exposure, but the numbers were staggering, over 200 people in 5 years. And then there were the health reports. Residents near the mine were reporting strange symptoms, headaches, nausea, memory loss, and something else, something the doctors could not explain. Their skin was changing, becoming harder, more brittle, like it was calcifying. I found one forum post that made me stop scrolling. It was from a woman whose husband had worked at the mine. She said he came home one day, and his eyes were different, black, she said, like ink. And he did not remember her, did not remember their children. He just stared at her and said the same thing over and over. The mountain is awake. The mountain is hungry. He disappeared 3 days later. I closed my laptop and tried to sleep, but I could not. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those black eyes, that terrible smile, and I heard that humming, low and constant, vibrating through my bones. At 3 in the morning, my phone rang. I did not recognize the number, but I answered it anyway. Static, and then a voice, my grandmother's voice. Sarah, she said, you came back. Grandma? I whispered, how you are? You are dead. The mountain remembers you, she said. You are of the valley. You are of the stone. You cannot leave. What do you mean? I asked. What is happening? They dug too deep, she said. They broke the pact. And now the mountain is claiming what it is owed. It starts with the eyes, then the skin, then the mind. And then you become part of it, part of the stone, part of the mountain forever. How do I stop it? I asked. You cannot, she said. No one can. The mountain has awakened, and it will not sleep again until it has consumed everything. The valley, the village, the towns, the cities. It will spread slowly, quietly, and no one will know until it is too late. The line went dead. I sat there in the dark, holding my phone, trying to convince myself it was not real. Just a dream, just stress, just grief. But then I felt it, that humming, low and constant, coming from outside, coming from the ground, coming from everywhere. I got dressed and drove back to the valley. I do not know why. Maybe I thought I could stop it. Maybe I thought I could save someone. Maybe I was already being pulled back. But as I drove through the mountains in the pre-dawn darkness, I started to feel it. A pressure in my head, a tightness in my chest, a strange heaviness in my limbs. When I reached the village, the sun was just starting to rise, and I could see them, the people of White Feather, all standing in the center of the village, in a perfect circle, facing inward. They were not moving, not speaking, just standing. And in the center of the circle was something I did not want to look at, but could not look away from. It was a stone, or at least it looked like a stone, but it was moving, pulsing, like it was breathing. And it was the same color as the liquid I had seen at the bottom of the mine, that strange metallic sheen. And as I watched, it began to grow, spreading outward, consuming the ground, the grass, the dirt, turning everything to stone. And the people just stood there, watching, smiling with those black eyes. I drove to the mine. I do not know what I was thinking. Maybe I thought I could find answers. Maybe I thought I could find a way to stop it. But as I approached the entrance, I saw the security guard. He had the same black eyes, the same terrible smile. "You came back," he said. "Good. The mountain has been waiting for you." I turned and ran, back to my car, back down the mountain, back towards civilization. But as I drove, I started to notice something. My hands, they were changing. The skin was getting harder, rougher. And when I looked in the rearview mirror, I saw it. My eyes, they were starting to darken at the edges, like ink spreading through water. I am writing this from a hotel room 300 miles away. I have been driving for 2 days straight, trying to put as much distance between me and that valley as possible. But I can still feel it, that pull, that humming. And I know it is only a matter of time. My skin is almost completely hard now. My eyes are half black. And I am starting to forget things, little things at first, where I parked my car, what I ate for breakfast, but then bigger things, names, faces, memories. It is like someone is erasing me from the inside out. And I know what comes next. I will go back. I will stand in that circle with the others, and I will watch as the stone spreads, as the mountain claims everything. And I will smile that terrible smile, and I will not care. But before I go, before I forget completely, I need to tell you this. If you hear about a mining operation opening in your area, if you see reports of strange illnesses, if people start disappearing, if anyone mentions rare earth minerals or red soil mining company, leave. Do not ask questions. Do not try to investigate. Just leave and never look back. Because the mountain is awake now, and it is hungry, and it will not stop until it has consumed everything. And once it has you, once you see those black eyes staring back at you in the mirror, it is already too late. I can hear it now, that humming. It is inside my head, inside my bones, inside my soul. And I know what it is saying. Come back, come home, become stone, become mountain, become forever. I am getting in my car now. I am driving back to Redwater Valley, back to White Feather, back to the circle, And I will stand with the others, and I will smile, and I will watch as the stone spreads, as the world becomes mountain, as everything becomes forever. Here's what I learned, and I hope you never have to learn it yourself. There are things in this world that should not be disturbed, places that should not be touched, depths that should not be reached. And when we break those rules, when we dig too deep, when we take too much, when we forget the old warnings, we do not just destroy ourselves. We awaken something ancient, something patient, something that has been waiting beneath the stone for millennia. The mining companies do not care about tradition. They do not care about sacred land. They do not care about the warnings carved into rocks by people who knew better. All they care about is profit, progress, extraction, and by the time they realize what they have awakened, it is too late. The mountain is already claiming what it is owed, and we are the payment. My grandmother used to say that the land remembers, that the mountain never forgets, that every time we take something from the earth, we owe a debt, and the debt will always be collected eventually. I used to think she was talking about karma or environmental responsibility or some vague spiritual concept, but she was not. She was talking about something literal, something real, something that lives in the deep places, in the stone and soil and ancient rock, something that watches and waits and hungers. And when we wake it up, when we break the seals that kept it sleeping, it does not destroy us quickly. It does not come with fire and fury. It comes slowly, quietly, changing us from the inside out, turning us into extensions of itself, making us part of the mountain, part of the stone, part of the forever. The worst part is not the transformation. The worst part is that you want it. By the time your eyes turn black, by the time your skin turns to stone, you are already gone. And the thing wearing your face, standing in your shoes, living your life, that thing wants to go back, wants to stand in the circle, wants to become mountain. I'm almost there now. I can see the valley in the distance, the mine glowing faintly in the twilight, the village dark and silent, and I can feel them waiting for me. My grandmother, the man with the black eyes, the security guard, all of them standing in that circle, all of them smiling. And I am smiling too, because I understand now. I understand what it means to become stone, to become mountain, to become forever. And it is beautiful. It is peace. It is home. But before I arrive, before I step into that circle, before I become something that is no longer me, I want you to know this. If you ever hear about Redwater Valley, if you ever hear about White Feather, if you ever hear about Wet Soil Mining Company, do not go. Do not investigate. Do not try to save any, because the mountain does not want to be saved. The mountain wants to grow, and it will use us to do it, one person at a time, one village at a time, one valley at a time, until the whole world is stone, until the whole world is mountain, until the whole world is forever. And there's nothing, absolutely nothing, you can do to stop it. Welcome to the mountain. Welcome to the stone. Welcome to forever.
Be careful what you chase. Some things look like success until you catch them. And by then, you're already part of someone else's collection. Another ghost in another story that never ends. I deleted my YouTube channel 3 months ago. All 200,000 subscribers gone. My friends think I had a breakdown. And maybe I did. But I had to do it after I finally watched the footage from Blackwood Mansion. Let me back up. My name's Tyler, and I am an urban exploration YouTuber, or I was trying to be. 23 years old, working part-time at a coffee shop, burning through my savings to buy camera equipment I couldn't afford. Every weekend I'd film abandoned hospitals, old factories, anything creepy enough to get views. But the algorithm wasn't picking me up. 6 months of work, and I barely had 5,000 subscribers. I was desperate enough to listen when Marcus told me about Blackwood Mansion. Marcus was this guy I knew from the Urbix community. Mid-40s, always wore the same leather jacket, had this way of smiling that never quite reached his eyes. He approached me at a meetup in late August. "You want views?" he asked, not even introducing himself first. Real views. I should have walked away. Should have noticed how he already knew who I was, knew my subscriber count, knew I was struggling. "There's a place," he said, leaning closer, 30 kilometers outside the city. Blackwood Mansion, built in 1926, abandoned since '87. Owner murdered his whole family there. The locals won't go near it. My heart started racing. That was exactly the kind of location I needed. "Here's the thing," Marcus continued. "The place, it does something to people, confuses them, messes with their heads. Every explorer who's gone in comes out with footage they don't remember filming. Some of them swear they were only inside for an hour, but their cameras show 3-4 hours of footage. That's just disorientation," I said. "Happens in big buildings." "Sure." His smile widened. "That's what they all say, until they watch the videos." He wrote down the address on a napkin. His handwriting was strange, almost too perfect, like a computer font. "One rule," he said. "Whatever you see in there, keep filming. Don't stop recording. The mansion, it doesn't like being forgotten." I took the napkin. I told myself I'd research it first. Be careful. Maybe bring someone with me. I went alone the next Saturday. The drive out was longer than I expected. The GPS kept glitching, rerouting me down roads that didn't exist on the map. By the time I found the place, the sun was already low, painting everything orange and gold. Blackwood Mansion sat at the end of an overgrown driveway, surrounded by dead trees. 3 stories of Victorian architecture, windows like empty eye sockets, paint peeling in long strips. The front door hung open. Inviting? I parked and checked my equipment. 2 cameras, 4 fully charged batteries, 3 SD cards, flashlight, phone. I was ready. The smart thing would have been to leave. I went inside. The entrance hall was massive. Dust particles floated in the dying sunlight streaming through broken windows. A chandelier hung crooked from the ceiling, crystals missing. There was this smell, not decay exactly, but something older, like the air itself had gone stale. I started filming, doing my usual intro. "Hey guys, Tyler here, and today we're exploring Blackwood Mansion. This place has been abandoned for over 30 years, and the history here is dark." My voice echoed wrong, too long, too hollow, like the house was repeating my words back to me, a fraction of a second too late. I should have noticed that. The first hour was normal. I explored the ground floor, finding a kitchen with rusted appliances, a living room where furniture sat covered in white sheets, a dining room with a table set for dinner that nobody ever ate. Standard abandoned house stuff, great footage. Then I found the study. The door was at the end of a hallway I could have sworn I'd already walked down. But there it was, slightly open, light spilling out from inside. Wait, light. I pushed the door open slowly. The study was clean, not dusty like the rest of the house. Books lined the walls, their spines vibrant and new. A desk sat in the center, papers scattered across it. A lamp glowed warmly in the corner. This was wrong. This was very wrong. "Okay," I said to the camera. "So this room is weirdly preserved. The light's on, which doesn't make sense, because there's no power to the building." I approached the desk. The papers were covered in handwriting, the same too perfect handwriting from Marcus's napkin. My hands started shaking. The papers were diary entries. I read the first one out loud for the camera. August 19th, 2024. He came today, the young man with the camera. I've been waiting for him. The house has been waiting. That was last week, the day I met Marcus. I flipped through more pages. They were all about me, my channel, my struggles, my desperation for success. Entry after entry describing my life in perfect detail, written in a hand I didn't recognize. The last entry was dated today. It read, "He's reading this now. He doesn't understand yet. The mansion remembers everything." And now it remembers him. I dropped the papers. My camera fell with them, hitting the desk with a crack. When I picked it up, the study was different. Dark, dusty. The books were rotted. The papers yellowed and crumbling. The lamp was gone. It looked abandoned again, like it had been for decades. But my camera was still recording. I ran back through the hallway, toward the entrance hall, my footsteps echoing in that wrong, hollow way. But the entrance hall wasn't where I left it. I was going deeper into the mansion instead of out. The hallways started changing, stretching, contracting. Doors appeared where walls should be. Rooms repeated themselves. I'd passed the same bathroom 3 times, except each time it was different. Different wallpaper, different fixtures, different eras, like I was moving through the mansion's history. I kept filming because I didn't know what else to do, because Marcus said don't stop recording, because some part of me still thought this would make great content. That's when I saw her. A woman in a white dress standing at the end of a hallway, her back to me. Hair long and black, hanging past her waist. She wasn't moving, just standing there. "Hello," my voice cracked. "Are you? Do you need help?" She turned around. Her face was mine. Not similar, not like we could be related, exactly mine. My face on her body, looking at me with my own eyes, smiling with my own mouth. I ran again, through doors, downstairs that shouldn't exist, past windows showing views that changed from day to night, to day again in seconds. The mansion was breathing around me, walls pulsing, floors tilting slightly, like the whole building was alive. I found myself in a bedroom, massive 4-poster bed, wardrobe, vanity, and on the walls, photos, hundreds of them. All of me. Me at the coffee shop. Me in my apartment. Me meeting Marcus. Me driving to the mansion. Me walking through the entrance hall an hour ago. Someone had been following me for months, documenting my entire life. Or the mansion had. I grabbed a photo off the wall. The moment I touched it, a memory flooded back. A memory I didn't have before. I'd been to Blackwood Mansion before, last month. I didn't remember it, but the photo proved it. There I was, standing in this same bedroom, holding this same photo, looking just as confused as I did now. How many times had I been here? How many times had the mansion made me forget? That's when my phone rang. No signal, no bars. Phone was dead. Had been dead since I arrived, but it was ringing. I answered. "You're doing great, Tyler." Marcus's voice. "The footage is going to be incredible." "How are you calling me? How did you?" "The mansion likes you," he interrupted. "It doesn't like everyone. Some people it sends away. But you're curious, you're hungry. You want success so badly you'll ignore every warning sign. The mansion appreciates that." "What is this place?" "A collection," Marcus said, "of moments, of people. It remembers everything that happens inside it. And once it remembers you, you become part of its story forever. Congratulations, Tyler. You're about to go viral." The line went dead. I found the stairs, real stairs this time, leading down and down, and down, and down. The entrance hall appeared below me, exactly as I'd left it hours ago. My car sat outside in the fading daylight. Fading, it should have been night by now. I ran for the door, burst outside, didn't stop running until I reached my car. Threw the equipment in the back, started the engine, and drove. I didn't look in the rearview mirror. Didn't want to see if something was following. The drive back took 20 minutes. Should have taken an hour and a half. The sun was still setting like no time had passed at all. I got home, locked every door and window, and finally looked at the footage. 6 hours of video, 6 hours of me exploring that mansion, even though I couldn't have been inside for more than 2. But that's not the worst part. In the footage, I'm not alone. She's there, the woman with my face, in the background of shots, standing in doorways, watching me from corners. Sometimes there's more than one. Sometimes there's 5 or 6 of them, all with my face, all watching silently. I never saw them while I was there, not until the end. And at the very end of the footage, after I run out the door and the camera's bouncing in my hand as I sprint to the car, there's a moment, just 1 second, where the camera points back at the mansion. They're all standing in the doorway, dozens of them, all wearing different clothes from different eras, but all with my face. Watching me leave, waiting. The video uploaded automatically to my channel. I didn't do it. I'd never even taken the SD card out of the camera. But there it was, titled Exploring the Most Haunted Mansion, Abandoned for 30 Years, what I found inside. It went viral in 3 hours. 200,000 views. Then 500,000, a million. Comments pouring in, "This is the best Urbex content I've ever seen. How did you fake this? The actress playing the ghost is incredible. This is obviously real. Look at his reactions." My subscriber count exploded. 10,000 new subscribers. 20,000. 50,000. Everything I'd wanted was happening, and I couldn't delete it fast enough. But every time I tried, the video would reappear. Different title, different thumbnail, always the same footage. That's when I started seeing her, the woman with my face, in my apartment. Standing in my kitchen at 3 in the morning, sitting in the passenger seat of my car, always just watching, never moving. I went back to the meetup spot where I'd met Marcus, asked everyone about him. Nobody knew who I was talking about. I'd described him perfectly. The leather jacket, the smile, the 2 perfect handwriting. One old-timer finally said, "You mean Marcus Blackwood? He died in 1987. Used to own a mansion about 30 clicks from here." I deleted my channel that night. All of it. Every video. Every comment. Every trace of my online presence. Changed my name. Moved to a different city. Got a job doing data entry where I don't have to talk to anyone. The woman with my face followed me here. I see her sometimes, in crowds, in reflections, always watching. The mansion remembered me, and now I'm part of its collection forever. Just another ghost in its gallery. Here's what I learned. There are things in this world that feed on ambition. On the desperate need to be seen, to be remembered, to matter. They wait in the forgotten places, offering everything you want in exchange for something you don't realize you're giving up. Your identity, your story, the truth of who you are. I wanted to be viral, to be famous, to have thousands of people watch my videos. I got my wish. But the person in those videos, the one that millions of people watched and commented on and subscribed to, I'm not sure that was me anymore. Or maybe it always was. Maybe that desperate, ambitious version of myself is the realest one. The one the mansion saw and collected. The one that's still there, walking those halls, filming forever, feeding the algorithm of something far older and hungrier than YouTube. I don't film anymore. I don't take photos. I barely look at screens. Because every time I do, there's a chance I'll see them. All the versions of me that the mansion collected. All the times I visited and forgot. All the possibilities of who I could have been if I'd just stayed. Sometimes late at night, my phone buzzes with notifications from a YouTube channel that doesn't exist anymore. Comments on videos that were deleted. New subscribers to an account that was terminated. The mansion still posting content. Still feeding the algorithm. Still collecting. And somewhere, in an abandoned Victorian house, 30 kilometers outside a city, I'll never visit again. Something with my face is walking through empty rooms, camera in hand, recording footage that no one will remember filming. I'm telling you this because I have to tell someone, because if I don't, then maybe I'll forget too. Maybe I'll wake up one morning and decide to start a new channel. Maybe I'll hear about a haunted location that's perfect for content. Maybe I'll meet someone in a leather jacket who smiles too wide and writes in perfect handwriting. Maybe I'll go back. The mansion remembers everything, and once it remembers you, you're never really gone. You're just waiting for your next upload. Stay safe out there, and if anyone ever tells you about Blackwood Mansion, about footage people don't remember filming, about a place that makes you viral, keep driving. Don't stop. Don't look back. Because the views aren't worth what you lose to get them. Trust me. I know. I have not spoken about Twinwood Lake in 7 years. Not to therapists, not to family, not even to myself in those quiet moments before sleep, when memory becomes unavoidable. But silence has not brought me peace. It has only made the questions louder, the guilt heavier, and the fear more suffocating. So I am returning, not because I want to, but because I finally understand that some doors remain open until you walk through them, no matter how much darkness waits on the other side. The summer I turned 23, my best friend Ethan convinced me and our mutual friend Sarah to take a weekend camping trip to a place his uncle had mentioned years before. Twinwood Lake sat 3 hours north of our college town, tucked so deep into the Cascade foothills that most maps did not bother including it. Ethan sold us on the isolation. No cell service, no other campers, just us. And the water, and the woods. Sarah was skeptical. She kept asking why Ethan's uncle had only mentioned it once, why there were no reviews online, why the Forestry Service website listed the area as limited recreational access. But Ethan had that infectious energy that made doubt feel like cowardice. And I was too eager to escape my summer job at the hardware store to ask the questions I should have asked. We arrived on a Friday afternoon in late June. The road turned from asphalt to gravel, to little more than tire ruts pressed into moss and mud. The trees closed in until the sunlight became a memory. When we finally parked at what Ethan insisted was the trailhead, Sarah turned to me and said something I will never forget. She said the forest felt like it was holding its breath. I laughed at the time. I called her dramatic. But she was right. The silence there was not peaceful. It was expectant. The hike to the lake took 40 minutes, and with each step, the wrongness intensified. There were no birds, no insects, no rustling in the underbrush that would indicate animals moving through their territory. Just our footsteps, and our breathing, and the occasional crack of a branch beneath our boots. The lake itself appeared suddenly, the way dangerous things often do. One moment we were surrounded by dense pine and Douglas fir, and the next we were standing at the edge of a body of water so still, it looked like black glass. Sarah dropped her pack and walked to the shore. She knelt down and reached toward the water, then pulled her hand back without touching it. She told us the temperature was wrong. It was late June, she said, and mountain lakes were cold. But this felt different. This felt like the cold was rising up to meet her rather than simply existing. Ethan told her she was overthinking things. He was already setting up his tent, already planning the evening, already refusing to acknowledge what we all felt, but could not name. We spent the afternoon pretending everything was normal. We set up camp. We filtered water from a creek that fed into the lake, because none of us wanted to drink from the lake itself, though no one admitted why. We gathered firewood. We made sandwiches. We did all the things people do when they are camping. But the performance felt hollow. The forest continued its silence. The lake continued its stillness. And as the sun began to set, the shadows did not simply lengthen. They seemed to thicken, to gain substance, to become something more than the absence of light. Sarah was the one who found the first marker. She had wandered about 30 yards down the shoreline, looking for flat stones to skip across the water, when she called out to us. Her voice had changed. The playfulness was gone. When Ethan and I reached her, she was standing completely still, staring at something carved into a large boulder that jutted out from the shore. The carving was crude, but deliberate. 3 letters, R.I.P., and below them, a series of tally marks, 11 marks. 11 vertical lines scratched deep into the stone. Ethan tried to dismiss it. He said it was probably some kind of memorial for fish, a joke left by previous campers, anything that would allow us to continue pretending. But Sarah was not listening to him. She was looking at the tree line behind the boulder. And when I followed her gaze, I saw them too. More markers, dozens of them. Small piles of stones arranged in deliberate patterns. Strips of faded cloth tied to low branches and carved into the bark of several trees. The same letters, R.I.P. Always the letters, always the tally marks. But the numbers varied. 7 marks, 15 marks, 22 marks. We should have left then. We should have packed our tents and hiked back to the car in the last hour of daylight, and never spoken of that place again. But Ethan refused. He said we were being irrational, that we were scaring ourselves over nothing, that we had driven 3 hours, and he was not going to let some stupid carvings ruin the weekend. Sarah and I exchanged a look. In that look was an entire conversation. We both knew something was profoundly wrong. We both knew that staying was a mistake, but we also both knew that Ethan would not leave, and neither of us was willing to hike out alone or force a confrontation that would shatter our friendship. So we stayed. We built our fire. We cooked our dinner. We sat around the flames as darkness swallowed the forest, and tried to fill the silence with conversation that felt increasingly forced. Around 10 o'clock, Sarah excused herself to use the makeshift latrine we had dug on the far side of our camp. She took her headlamp and her toilet paper and disappeared into the trees. Ethan and I continued talking, but I cannot remember now what we said. I only remember that at some point, I realized Sarah had been gone for a very long time. I called her name, no response. I called again, louder, nothing. Ethan grabbed his flashlight, and we both stood, the fear we had been suppressing all day finally breaking through. We walked toward the latrine, calling for Sarah, sweeping our lights across the trees. We found the latrine. We found her headlamp on the ground beside it, still turned on, the beam pointing uselessly at the dirt. But we did not find Sarah. For the next 6 hours we searched. We screamed her name until our voices went raw. We covered every inch of shoreline, every possible path through the trees. We found nothing, no footprints leading away, no signs of a struggle, no blood, no torn clothing, no indication that anything violent had occurred. She had simply vanished, as completely as if the forest had opened up and swallowed her whole. When the sun finally rose, Ethan and I hiked back to the car in silence. We drove to the nearest town and found the sheriff's office. We reported Sarah missing. We led search and rescue teams back to Twinwood Lake. For 3 days, trained professionals with dogs and equipment combed the area. They found nothing. No trace of Sarah. But they found other things. They found bones, human bones, scattered in shallow graves throughout the forest surrounding the lake. The investigation that followed revealed what local law enforcement had been quietly tracking for years. Twinwood Lake was a dumping ground. For more than 2 decades, a man named Dennis Voigt had been using the area to dispose of his victims. Voigt was a long-haul trucker who lived 40 miles south. He abducted hitchhikers, transients, anyone whose disappearance would not generate immediate attention. He killed them in a shed behind his property, and he brought their remains to Twinwood Lake, where the isolation and the difficult access meant they would likely never be found. But the FBI task force that eventually arrested Voigt discovered something else. 7 years before our camping trip, a 12-year-old girl named Rebecca Marsh had been abducted while riding her bike near her home. Her case had generated significant media attention. Her photograph had been everywhere, and witnesses had reported seeing a man matching Voigt's description in the area around the time of her disappearance. But there was never enough evidence to charge him. The witnesses began recanting their statements. Some moved away. 2 disappeared entirely, and Rebecca Marsh was never found. The prevailing theory, the one the FBI agent explained to me in a victim services office with beige walls and fluorescent lighting, was that Sarah had stumbled upon something that night. Maybe she saw something in the woods. Maybe she noticed fresh, disturbed earth, or encountered Voigt himself, disposing of remains, or revisiting his burial sites. The agent told me that men like Voigt often return to their dumping grounds. It gave them a sense of control, a way to relive their crimes. And when witnesses appeared unexpectedly, men like Voigt eliminated them. Sarah's body has never been found. The investigation eventually went cold. Voigt was convicted on the murders they could prove, but he refused to cooperate, refused to reveal the locations of all his victims. He is serving multiple life sentences, and I hope every single day in that prison is a small taste of the hell he created for so many families. But knowing what happened, understanding the evil that saturated that place, did not free me. It paralyzed me. For 7 years I have been afraid of forests, afraid of silence, afraid of my own guilt for not insisting we leave, for not protecting Sarah, for surviving when she did not. The fear became a wall I could not see past, could not climb over, could not break through. Until 3 weeks ago, when I realized that fear is not actually a wall, it is a door. And the only way to stop it from controlling me was to walk through it. So, I am returning to Twinwood Lake. I am driving the same route we took 7 years ago. I am parking in the same spot where Ethan parked his car. I am hiking the same trail that leads to that Blackwater and that terrible silence. I am carrying Sarah's photograph, and I am going to leave it at the place where we last saw her, because she deserves to be remembered in the location she was stolen from, not just in a case file or a news article or my nightmares. The forest still holds its breath. The lake is still that unnatural black. The markers are still there, more weathered now, but no less disturbing. I kneel at the spot where we found Sarah's headlamp. I place her photograph against the base of a tree. I say her name out loud, Sarah! Sarah! And my voice does not crack. I hear something then. Footsteps, slow and deliberate, moving through the trees behind me. My entire body goes rigid. Every instinct screams at me to run, but I do not run. I stand, I turn, I face the sound. It is a deer, just a deer, moving cautiously through the undergrowth, as startled to see me as I am to see it. It freezes for a moment, our eyes meeting, and then it bounds away into the forest. Birds begin singing. A breeze moves through the pines. The spell breaks. I do not know if I believe in ghosts, or curses, or forests that hold evil in their soil. But I know this, I am no longer afraid. The door is open. I have walked through. And whatever waited on the other side cannot touch me anymore. I leave Twinwood Lake as the sun begins to set. I do not look back. Sarah is gone, and nothing will bring her back. But I am still here. And I choose to live without the weight of fear deciding what I can face. The road out is long. The silence in my car is not suffocating. It is simply quiet. And for the first time in 7 years, that is enough. Reality is not what you think it is. I know that sounds crazy. I know it sounds like something someone says before they get committed, but I need you to understand something before I explain what happened to me and my wife. We were not paranoid, we were not delusional, and we were not making it up. For 1 full year, the same woman followed us everywhere we went. And I mean everywhere. Every store, every restaurant, every movie theater, every road. She was always there, always alone, always watching, always making eye contact. Until the day she stopped, and that is when things got so much worse. My name is David Carter, and 3 years ago, my reality broke. Not metaphorically, not psychologically. It actually broke. And once you see the cracks, you can never unsee them. Let me start from the beginning. It was May of 2021. My wife Rachel and I had just moved to Portland, Oregon, new jobs, new city, new start. Everything was normal for the first few weeks. We explored the neighborhoods, found our favorite coffee shop, discovered the good grocery stores, normal newlywed stuff. Then we saw her. The first time was at Trader Joe's. We were shopping for dinner, debating between salmon or chicken, when I noticed someone staring at us from the end of the aisle. A woman. Tall. Extremely tall. Maybe 6'3". Unnaturally thin, like someone had stretched a normal person vertically, until all the proportions were just slightly wrong. But it was her face that got me. The skin was too tight, too smooth, like it had been pulled back and fastened somewhere behind her skull. No wrinkles, no expression lines. Just this smooth, waxy surface that barely moved when she blinked. And she was staring directly at us, not looking in our direction, staring with these pale gray eyes that did not seem to focus quite right. "Babe," Rachel whispered, grabbing my arm. "That woman is staring at us." "I see her," I said. The woman did not look away, did not pretend to be shopping, just stood there, watching. After about 30 seconds, she turned and walked away with this strange gliding walk, like her legs were moving, but her upper body stayed perfectly still. "That was weird," Rachel said. I agreed. We finished shopping and left, forgot about it. 2 days later we saw her again, at Starbucks. We walked in to grab coffee before work, and there she was, sitting in the corner, same woman, same impossibly tall frame, same tight skin, same gray eyes, staring at us over her untouched latte. Rachel froze. "David, that is the woman from Trader Joe's." "Maybe she lives in the neighborhood," I said, trying to rationalize it. But the woman did not live in our neighborhood, because over the next week we saw her 6 more times, at Target, at the gas station, at a restaurant 15 miles from our house, at the movie theater, at the mall, at the park where we walked our dog. Always alone, always watching, always making direct eye contact, never speaking, never approaching, just there. By week 3, Rachel was freaking out. "This is not normal," she said one night. "We need to call the police. She is stalking us." "And tell them what?" I asked. "That we keep running into the same woman in public places. They will laugh at us." But even I was starting to feel it, that creeping sense of being watched, of being studied, of being tracked. The encounters kept happening, sometimes twice a day. Sometimes we would not see her for 3 days, then see her 5 times in one afternoon. There was no pattern, no logic, just her constant, impossible presence. The weirdest encounter happened on the highway. We were driving to Seattle for the weekend, middle of nowhere, I-5 north, miles from any city. Rachel was dozing in the passenger seat when she suddenly jerked awake and looked out the window. Then she screamed. In the car next to us, keeping perfect pace, was the woman, behind the wheel, staring at us with those dead gray eyes, not looking at the road, not paying attention to traffic, just staring, while driving 70 miles per hour. I swerved, nearly hit the median. The woman did not react, did not change speed, just kept driving next to us, staring. What the fuck? Rachel was hyperventilating. What the fuck is she? How is she everywhere? I floored it. Got up to 90. She kept pace. I slowed down to 50. She kept pace. Finally, I jerked onto an exit ramp at the last second. She kept driving straight, disappeared into traffic. Rachel was sobbing. We need to move. We need to leave Portland. She is not human, David. She is not human. I wanted to argue, wanted to be rational, but deep down, I knew she was right. Something was wrong. Something fundamental about this woman was wrong. We started documenting it, taking photos when we could, writing down every encounter, dates, times, locations. Over the course of that year, we saw her 94 times, 94 documented encounters with the same impossible woman. We tried everything, changed our routines, shopped at different stores, took different routes to work. Nothing worked. She was always there, always watching, always making eye contact. We joked that she was an alien studying us, a glitch in the matrix, a simulation error, anything to make it feel less terrifying. But it was terrifying, because no matter what we did, no matter where we went, she was there, like she was not following us through space, like she was just always already there, waiting. Then, after exactly 1 year, she stopped. June 1st, 2022, we woke up, got coffee, went to the grocery store. She was not there. We went to lunch. Not there. Went to the mall. Not there. Went to a movie. Not there. A week passed. No sightings. 2 weeks. Nothing. A month. She was gone. Rachel was relieved. Maybe she moved. Maybe she died. Maybe whatever she was studying is over. I wanted to believe that. I really did. But then the others started appearing. At first, I thought I was being paranoid, seeing patterns that were not there. But then Rachel noticed it too. There was a man, short, bald, wearing the same brown jacket every time we saw him, different locations. Always alone, always making eye contact, always watching. Then, a teenage girl, blonde, too pale skin, eyes that did not blink often enough, following the same pattern, different places, always there, always watching. Then, an elderly woman. Then, a middle-aged man in a suit. Then, a young boy who could not have been more than 12. All of them with that same wrong quality, that same stretched appearance, that same too smooth skin, that same dead, gray stare. And they were not just following us, they were replacing her, taking shifts. We are being watched, Rachel whispered one night. Not by one person, by a group, by a system. David, what the fuck is happening to us? I did not have an answer, because the rational explanations were running out. This was not coincidence. This was not paranoia. This was real, documented, provable. We were being monitored by things that looked human but were not quite human. By entities that could be everywhere at once. By watchers who never stopped watching. That is when I started researching, And what I found made everything worse. Online forums, Reddit threads, obscure blogs, all telling similar stories. People who saw the same person everywhere for months or years, then multiple people, always watching, always making eye contact, always wrong in some indefinable way. They called them observers, or witnesses, or monitors. Nobody knew what they were. Just that they appeared, watched, documented, and eventually something happened. Because every story had the same ending, the person being watched either disappeared, or their life fell apart, or they had a complete psychological break, or they became one of them. One account stood out. A woman in Ohio. She had been followed by the same man for 2 years, then multiple people. Then one day she woke up and she was one of them. Could not explain how, could not explain why, just knew that she was different now, hollow, watching others the way she had been watched. She said it felt like waking up inside someone else's body, like being a passenger in your own life. She said the urge to watch, to document, to study was overwhelming, irresistible. She said she was not alone in there anymore. I showed Rachel. She read it, turned white. "We need to leave," she said. "Tonight, we pack everything and we leave Portland, and we never come back." We tried. We really did. But when we went to pack, they were there, all of them, standing in our yard, 6 figures, different heights, different ages, different genders, all with that same wrong appearance, all staring at our house, not moving, not speaking, just watching. We called the police. They came, looked around, saw nobody, said we were stressed, maybe needed to see a therapist. Then they left. But the observers were still there. We could see them, clear as day, standing in a perfect circle around our house. We could not leave. Every time we tried to go to the car, our bodies would not obey, like invisible strings were holding us back, like something had taken control, and we were just passengers now. That is when I understood we were not being watched anymore. We were being claimed. The next morning, I woke up and everything felt wrong. My body felt wrong. My thoughts felt wrong, like there was something else inside me, watching through my eyes, thinking through my brain. I looked at Rachel. She was staring at me with that same dead gray stare, that same stretched appearance, that same too smooth skin. "Rachel," I said. She smiled, but it was not her smile. It was wrong, empty. "It is time," she said. But it was not her voice. It was layered, multiple voices speaking at once. I ran to the bathroom, looked in the mirror, and what I saw made me scream. My face was changing. The skin was pulling tighter, smoother. My eyes were fading to gray. My proportions were stretching, becoming wrong. I was becoming one of them, an observer, a witness, a thing that watches and documents and studies and claims. And the worst part of me wanted it. Part of me felt relief, like I was finally understanding, finally seeing, finally becoming what I was always supposed to be. That was 3 months ago. I am writing this in the brief windows when I am still me. When the thing inside me sleeps or looks away, or gets distracted. But those windows are getting shorter. The me that is writing this is fading, and the thing that is replacing me is getting stronger. Soon, I will be gone entirely, and David Carter will be just another observer, just another watcher, just another thing that follows people everywhere and studies them and eventually claims them. Rachel is already gone. I can see it in her eyes. She watches me now the way the tall woman watched us, with that same empty stare, that same patient hunger. And I know it is only a matter of time before I am watching too, before I am standing in grocery stores and coffee shops and highways, staring at the next couple, the next subjects, the next ones to be claimed. Because that is what they do, what we do, what I am becoming. We watch, we document, we study, we claim, and we never stop. Because reality is not what you think it is. Reality has watchers. And if you see the same person everywhere, making eye contact, being in impossible places, run as far as you can. Because once they start watching you, they never stop. They just wait and wait and wait until you become one of them. Here's what I learned before I stopped being entirely me. Reality is not solid. It has cracks, thin places where something else bleeds through. The observers exist in those cracks, in the spaces between coincidence and pattern, between paranoia and truth. They are not aliens. They are not demons. They are not government agents or cult members or stalkers. They are something older, something that has always been here, in the margins, in the background watching. And they need us, need our eyes, our bodies, our identities, because they cannot maintain their own forms for long. They borrow, they inhabit, they replace one person at a time, one watcher at a time. The tall woman who followed us for a year, she was not following us. She was showing us, teaching us, preparing us, breaking us down until we were ready to see, ready to accept, ready to become. And now we are ready. Rachel is already gone. I am almost gone. Soon we will be the ones standing in grocery stores, sitting in coffee shops, driving next to couples on the highway, making eye contact, studying, claiming. The scariest part is not becoming one of them. It is wanting to become one of them. It is feeling the relief when you finally stop fighting, when you finally accept that you were always meant to watch, to document, to claim. Because once you see them, really see them, you understand. They are not the glitch. We are. Human consciousness is the error, the anomaly, the thing that needs to be corrected. And the observers are the correction, the watchers who slowly, patiently, methodically replace us, one by one, until everyone is watching, until no one is left to watch. I can feel it happening now. As I write this, the me that is David is shrinking, and the thing that is replacing me is expanding, taking over, taking control. My skin feels tight. My thoughts feel distant. My eyes feel wrong. I looked in the mirror an hour ago. My eyes are fully gray now. My face is stretched. My skin is smooth. I am one of them, or I will be soon. The transition is almost complete. And the worst part, I am not scared anymore. I am relieved, because watching is so much easier than being watched. Documenting is so much easier than being documented. Claiming is so much easier than being claimed. Soon, I will stand in a Trader Joe's and watch a couple shop for dinner. I will sit in a Starbucks and watch them order coffee. I will drive next to them on the highway and make perfect eye contact while never looking at the road. And they will know, deep down, that something is wrong, that I am wrong, that reality is cracking around them. And they will try to run, try to hide, try to document me the way I documented the tall woman. But it will not matter, because once we start watching, we never stop. We just wait and wait and wait until they become us. I am sorry, I tried to warn you, I tried to explain, but the thing inside me is stronger now, and the David who started writing this is almost gone. If you see someone following you everywhere, making eye contact, being in impossible places, do not research it, do not try to understand it, do not document it. Just run and keep running, because once they see you, really see you, it is already too late. They have already claimed you. You just do not know it yet. And one day you will wake up with tight skin and gray eyes, and the overwhelming urge to watch, to document, to claim. And you will understand you were always meant to be one of them. You were always meant to watch. Welcome to the cracks in reality. Welcome to the spaces between. Welcome to the observers. We have been waiting for you.